Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out news, important news. And today I think we're calling it Beyond the Press Releases because we've got three press releases to talk about. And I'm talking to Perry Little over at Green River Gold. He's a president CEO, trades in Canada, CCR for friends in the US, CCRRF. If you want to understand the company and you love sports, let me put it to you this way. If you hit 300 in baseball, you're in the Hall of Fame. If you shoot 50% from the field in basketball, you're an icon. But if you go 47 for 47 in drilling, well, then you're Green River Gold. And why do we love that? Because as gold holds firm here in the $2,000 area, but on the other side, electric vehicle revolution is propelling demand for battery metals. The resource industry is presenting investors with a challenging decisions. Do they focus on the allure of gold or seize the opportunities in the burgeoning battery metal sector? Well, Green River is one of those rare small cap resource companies that offers investors both, thanks to assembling what I call a powerhouse of projects in BC that include the Quesnel nickel magnesium talc project, the Fontaine gold project, the Cali lithium pegmatite project, and the Kymar silver project. And what they all have in common is being in some of British Columbia's most highly prospective mining districts. The first press release we're going to talk about, because they're 47 for 47, is the news where the company reported assay results from the Quesnel nickel project. They intersected nickel, magnesium, cobalt, and chromium beginning at the bedrock surface for the 47th consecutive hole. Barry, welcome back, my friend. I know that's a mouthful.
Hi, George. I'm glad you got to say all that. Now I can take it cool. It makes it a lot easier for me.
Well, I had to set the table, right? Because it's what you guys are doing is pretty big. This is getting serious now. We joke about it, but 47 for 47. Last time we talked, you're 45 for 45. What's happening? What can you tell us about these latest assays? Because I want to also read Kyle Townsend, your mine manager, his quote. But tell us first, why this is so important.
We have basically been hitting consistent stuff here now since we started drilling this at the end of 2021. First with some shallow holes. These are still shallow. We're only going down a little over 100 meters on most of these ones using a Winky drill. But yeah, they're all the same. It's pretty phenomenal. It's a large area. So what we have is a consistent amount of nickel, chromium, cobalt, and magnesium, a lot of magnesium. It's 14 kilometers long, and it's about 7 square kilometers in total. It's long and skinny. That's a huge area, and everywhere we drilled, we keep hitting the same stuff. So these last holes that we drilled, we're on the 6th hole now. It's 1.5 kilometers away from the first hole that we drilled this season, and we're hitting the same stuff. It's remarkably similar. As a matter of fact, when they sent me the assay results for hole number 2, they said, we got the assay results. I said, great, send them to me. So they sent them. And I said, I think you sent me the wrong ones, right? And they said,
no, copy paste of the first ones.
Yeah, they were 1.1 kilometers apart, and they were identical on the nickel, I think it was, to and the magnesium to the 3rd decimal place. Right? It's pretty phenomenal.
What does that consistency tell you, Perry? Like, to have that much consistency means it's more than just the drill result. To have those assays, to have that consistency is really telling you a story, right?
Yeah, it is. I think the value of this rock, over a large area is going to be significant, and it makes it very easy to calculate when you've got the same stuff. We don't have all kinds of hot pockets in here, and we don't find ourselves going down 50 meters before we hit anything of interest. We hit in the top meter of every hole and right to the bottom of every hole. And that's in 47 straight holes now. So I think it adds up. It's going to be very, very large. We don't know how large yet because we haven't made the whole 14 kilometers. And we've only gone down, I think the deepest hole is 129 meters. But we'll be bringing in a larger rig that'll go down 300 meters. And our plan is to drill 20 more holes, 300 meters. And by the time we're finished that, we'll do a 43-101 resource estimate on the area around Zone 1. What we've been doing now is we've been actually stepping out on Zone 1. We got off the big rocky mound, the big outcrop that we call Zone 1, and we started drilling close to it. And this is basically an extension of Zone 1. Zone 1 is large. It takes up a good chunk of the entire 14-kilometer long run, and it alone is going to hold a
The whole thing
substantial
is
amount.
almost zone 1.
Yeah, well, yeah. There's a zone 2 that's about the same size as zone 1. To be honest with you, I at this point, I'm getting pretty convinced it's going to look the same all the way along. As long as we stay on that purple anomaly, we seem to hit the same stuff.
Well,
So
it's
I'll be
not
quite
just
shocked.
you. It's not just you, but Kyle Townsend, because I wanted to read this quote. He's the mine manager for Green River Gold, said, and I'm using an excerpt here. He says, these findings validate the potential for a significant and continuous mineral resource in the project area. So that's the mine manager also. It's not you and me, because some people might say, Perry and George are too excited. What does it mean when Kyle puts his name to something like that?
He's not given to exaggeration, and he's very much a show me sort of a guy. We get pitched with a lot of mining projects, and we turn them down left, right, and center. And he's usually the guy, sort of playing the curmudgeon and throwing this stuff out. So it takes a lot to convince him. But at this point, at 47 straight holes, we're pretty convinced that we've got something really large, and the grades are high enough to make it interesting when it's that large and when it's that accessible and that close to infrastructure. We haven't talked much about the magnesium, but every one of these assays are coming back over 21%. The last three were 21.9, 21.8, 21.5. And again, it's at surface. So, I've had a few people say, why aren't you concentrating on the magnesium potential of this thing? We were originally after nickel, and we're stubborn.
Yep.
We're still talking about the nickel, but the magnesium may actually be the hidden value here.
So what is a lot of people don't talk about magnesium. Let's face it. We talk about gold, we talk about lithium and nickel. When you talk to resource investors, there's not a lot of talk about magnesium. You said 21% magnesium. Relatively, what does that mean to us at home? Because we don't know if that's Fort Knox or if that's the bottom of the
It's a lot.
bargain bin. How good is that?
When you get over 20%, you got a lot. And we're consistently clicking along at 21. There's people looking at building standalone magnesium mines with grades that are just slightly higher than that, and the stuff isn't at surface like ours is. So I think it's got great potential. Magnesium gets used a lot in alloys with aluminum, car parts and whatever. It's light and it's strong, so it has its own uses. There are some emerging battery technologies that may use magnesium as well. So there might be, it might turn out to be a battery metal at some point, but at this point, it's mostly used in alloys. It's in demand. The demand is growing, and it's well priced. So it's something that excites us. We've kind of kept our focus on the nickel when we do our press releases and whatever. But more and more, we're looking at the potential for the magnesium on this.
But do you have to choose one over the other, Perry? I mean, for the layman at home, you're drilling, you get a lot of nickel, you get a lot of magnesium. Are they mutually exclusive, or
I
is
don't
it a
think so.
party because you've got both?
It's going to depend on the metallurgy and how we can separate this stuff. So, we're hopeful that we can recover multiple minerals out of this. We have cobalt in here as well, and chromium. So we'll see what all we can separate out of it. And then, of course, we have that one unique area of zone 1 that we don't talk about much because it confuses people, but it's the one where the talc is, and talc is an unusual product that nobody understands. There's no spot market for talc, so it doesn't get a lot of headline. But we have a lot of it at surface. We'll be doing metallurgical work on that as well to see how we could separate the talc. And we think it's possible we could actually take out the talc and then get the nickel out of there as well. And talc is used in a multitude of industries. It's used in pulp and paper, ceramics, plastics, and we have a lot of it. Again, it starts right at surface. It's only on one area of zone 1, but it's big enough to be a potential source of income for us. And we have a lot of mills. Pulp and paper is a big industry in BC still. So we're within about an hour, say 2 hours of about 5 mills that could use this product. And I think they're currently getting the product from Montana. But we have talc as well. We don't talk about it much because it confuses
Yeah, we have.
people.
It's like we can't find the room to talk about the talc because you got the nickel, you got the magnesium. We're going to talk about lithium in a second. But how do you feel, and how should shareholders be feeling right now, given the fact you're not a one-trick pony by any means, not in terms of project or even within the Quesnel nickel project. It's not a one-trick pony either. How de-risked is the company right now to have this many options?
That's a good question. I think having the options does reduce the risk. We'll be doing a lot of metallurgical work over the next little while, and that will help. We're going to be doing a lot of trenching. We'll be able to dig up a pile of material, part of it from where the talc is, because we really want to see what happens there. But part of it from where the talc isn't, right around where we're drilling hole number 6 now. I think we'll do a bunch of trenching around there. We like what we see, and we'll send that in. And one of the great things, you talked about consistency. One of the great things about the consistency of these results is the trenching should be able to tell us give us a pretty good idea on the metallurgy of the overall project, right? Because we've got very similar findings, whether you're at depth or whether you're 8 kilometers away. The stuff looks the same. So that what we get back in the metallurgy should give us a pretty good idea for the whole project.
And do you have any concerns about metallurgy because you still haven't really tested for it, or are you guys pretty confident that you're going to have something reasonable and that it won't be an obstacle?
We're pretty pleased with what we saw. We did do some preliminary metallurgical stuff on zone 1, and we did it where the talc was, and it turned out that 50% of the material there was talc. And that's a lot of money you get back for your waste rock. And the nickel, the other thing we were excited about and interested in was what was the form of the nickel. And the nickel was pentlandite. 97% of it was pentlandite. And that's what our friends at Giga Metals have. And it's relatively easy to recover that type of nickel using froth flotation. So the early metallurgy looks really good. We haven't done a lot of work to see what we could do with the magnesium. It wasn't our focus to begin with, but the more we see these high magnesium numbers, the more we're starting to think that could be really interesting. So we'll see what happens. But our focus still, in our minds, our focus is still on the nickel.
Sure,
and we'll see what else
sure,
happens.
there's going to be a lot of demand for nickel, that's for sure.
And we did hit on the first hole this year. We hit one zone. I don't know what you call it a zone. We hit a ribbon, if you will, of stuff about halfway down a 120-meter hole. We ran into about 6 meters of material that was different, and it had a bunch of lead and zinc and a bit of silver and a bit of gold in it. And it's indicative that somewhere down here there is something completely different than what our main product is. So we could have some sort of porphyry system down here. We don't really know. This was sort of semi-massive sulfide material, and other than background readings of lead and zinc, we've got nothing in this other stuff. Suddenly we hit this one, strip, and it's coming up from beneath somewhere. So when we do our deeper drilling, we don't know what we're going to hit down there, right? So
are you getting noticed by industry people, Perry? Because I know you've spoken at a local, but a significant kind of conference about a month ago. When you have your peers and your colleagues, because you all, you're a small fraternity, when they look at some of the numbers that we're coming up with here, do you hear any kind of feedback from them?
I don't get anybody saying that thing hasn't got a chance. What are you doing, wasting your time? I get, maybe they're just polite. But no, we've got a lot of people who are kind of looking at it, going, and we have had some investment come in from some knowledgeable geologists and people who know what they're doing. So we got to get the metallurgy done. We've got to get the deep drilling done. We got to get a 43-101 done, and we'll have a lot of that done in the next 6 months. So.
Well, that's what I want to talk about, because we've talked about it before, but obviously new people are hearing about the story. The next 6 months, right? It's not like we have to wait 2 or 3 years. The next 6 months is going to tell us a lot about Quesnel.
We're advancing this thing quickly. We didn't start drilling the last few holes till the very end, or the first few holes till the very end of 2021 on the nickel project. So we did some drilling in 22. We did drilling in 23. We applied for a permit to do deeper drilling, 20 holes, 300 meters deep. That's what we're looking for. We got delayed a little bit on it. They asked for a ground stability report, which we sent in a while back, and hopefully that'll be the last thing they ask for. Of course, they, it's their prerogative to turn down a permit or whatever. We don't see anything kinky here that would lead that to happen. So we're just in that waiting game. So we're doing other types of exploration on the property while we wait for that. But the game plan is to drill those 20 holes, which we think we can do in about 100 days or so. And we can drill well into the winter there. I guess the 30 below obviously is shut down, but we're only 45 minutes away. We have that big shop in Quesnel. So we run our drilling program out of Quesnel. So the guys hop in the crew truck in the morning, you go 45 minutes and they're on the drill site. So we've already got the drill ready to go. We're just waiting for the permits to come through and we start drilling on that. It'll be about 100 days. We compile all that data, and most of the holes we drill will be in the area of zone 1, so that we can do a 43-101 report focused on zone 1. This thing's 14 kilometers long. To do a 43-101 report on the entire thing would be a pretty massive undertaking. And so we're going to focus on one small area, and then hopefully people will extrapolate a little bit. And
well, by then you'll have had, look, you're at 47 holes now, right? And you're saying adding on another 20 and deeper. So that'll be more than enough to at least give us that initial look. It's not going to be your final, but that's going to be enough to get. Do you think that could be ready by March, somewhere Q1?
Yeah, we were hoping for the end of Q1. Now that we've been delayed a little bit on the permit, it might sneak into Q2. We're being pretty aggressive with it. I mean, this is moving pretty quickly, right? So from a standing start at the end of 2021, that's more or less when we got the mag survey results and realized there might be something there. The drilling this many holes and doing a 43-101 on the report or on the project, I think is pretty quick. So we've been pretty aggressive. We don't slow down, right? I mean, it's we've always got other things going on in the background as well. We get the guys out there drilling, and then we have time to think about other things. And so we've done a little bit of that over the last little while, as you may have noticed.
Well, I was going to say, if we ended the interview right there, that would be a ton of fantastic, very promising news, something real to look forward to, and we could end it there and say, okay, Perry, we'll have you back after the results come back for holes 4 and 5 because those are done. 6 is being drilled right now, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. But moving on from Quesnel, which is like moving on, right?
Yeah.
You also got Cali, right? And the headline here is Green River Gold identifies lithium and rare earth element pathfinders in the first field reconnaissance program at the Cali pegmatite project. So, first question: what are pathfinders at the end of the day, right? I got an idea. It sounds like it doesn't take a lot to put Sherlock Holmes together that, but what are pathfinders? What are they significant? And what you found? What are they significance?
Well, I think geology is a lot like high school, right? You're identified by the people you hang out with. So, I was considered a nerd because of the people I hung out with. I don't know what you were, George, but anyway, certain minerals
I
like
was
to
a
hang out
Gino.
with
I was a
certain
Gino. I had the long hair, the Greek Italian look. So you and I were a little bit opposite. I was a bigger nerd than you, probably.
So anyway, certain minerals hang out with other minerals, and what we knew. This is an interesting project. It's about 3 hours from our shop. Is the Cali project, so it's not quite the same morning commute, but it's not a long ways away. It's pretty easily accessible if you go the right way. Got to tell you the story on this. Our guys went down to it for the first time, and we tried to access it from 100 Mile House. Drove down the highway to 100 Mile House, and then they took off on the logging road, which they found out was pretty much impassable at one spot. They got the truck hopelessly stuck, and took them a few hours to manage to get it back out. Took it back, made sure it wasn't injured too badly, and the next day they went in the other way, and they went in from a place called Clearwater off Highway 5. And it turns out that the road off of Clearwater is like a 4-lane, well-serviced, service road. Better than anything we've got up where we're mining, and they were able to drive right to the project without any issues at all. So they picked the wrong route the first time. But when they got there, they spent a lot of time walking around the bush. These are pretty energetic guys. We've got over 10 square kilometers down there. And again, this was one of our bargain bin specials. We look around, we do a lot of work in the archives and the library looking for opportunities. And we found this one that had been studied extensively for the possibility from molybdenum and copper by numerous companies going back to the 1960s. So there's a lot of homework on it and some assays, but nobody ever assayed for stuff like lithium or rare earths because it wasn't worth anything.
Why would they? Right?
They
You wouldn't be
wouldn't
asking for that in the 60s.
But some of the things, there's pegmatite, which is where you can find lithium. It's not necessarily going to be there, but there's pegmatite on the project that was identified. So we knew we'd find that unless everybody was lying in the old reports, and it turned out they weren't. So we were able to find the pegmatite or some pegmatite and took some samples. We've sent those off for assay now. But the XRF gun that we use all the time, it's X-ray fluorescence, and we zap them with that gun. And we found readings of anomalous readings of tantalum, niobium, and rubidium. And go back to my high school thing, those would be the cool kids. Okay, those are the ones you want to hang out with.
I like it.
So
I like the
those
analogy.
are indicators that there could be lithium, it could be other rare earths there as well. So the potential is still alive for this thing to contain lithium and rare earths. We'll get some assay results within about 4 weeks, and we'll see. But there's also, we picked up some massive sulfide, just grab samples. Now, these were floaters. They could have come in from anywhere, driven in by the glaciers. But we zapped those, and there were some interesting findings in those as well. We don't put out the XRF numbers because they're more qualitative than quantitative. They give you an idea what's in it, but they could be way off in terms of the numbers.
My XRF has been pretty good on Quesnel for you, so it's been pretty dead on, right?
The XRF on that has been spectacular, and we use it daily. We get daily results on Quesnel. It's fabulous. I bring the drill core back to our shop at the end of the day, and we zap it. By morning, I know what we got. Right, we know where we are, and if we're on a dead zone or whatever, we're not hitting any dead zones. But actually, for the nickel, cobalt, chromium, and magnesium, that thing has been close to dead on. Right, so we get the assays back; they're not a surprise.
Love it. Gotta love
But
it.
when you get these random rocks that you scan out in the field, yeah, it's a little more hit and miss. So we're not putting out the numbers on the XRF except to say that they were anomalous for tantalum, niobium, and rubidium. And we see signs that there could be, what they were originally looking for out there, moly and copper. Maybe they just didn't find the right spots. The great thing about this property, really easy access. And because of the pine beetle infestation, half of this 10 or 11 square kilometer property has been logged recently. So the trees were basically dying or dead anyway. So they all came down. So the access on here is phenomenal. You can see what's there, right? And normally it's pretty heavily forested area. So we like what we see. It's very early going. This project was another one of our bargain bin specials. Our focus, I don't want anybody to think that our focus is not on Quesnel nickel, but we get the geologists out there looking for other things as well. This project cost us $1,800 to stake. And so far, we spent a few days on the ground out there, and we'll wait for assay results before we spend any more money on it. So that's the lithium property.
I spent my wife spent $1,800 on souvenirs come back from Greece, and they're not going to get anywhere near the return that you're going to get out of Cali. So clearly, I wish I was shopping with you guys, right? Because $1,800, that's almost ridiculous.
I've seen bar towns worse than that in Vegas.
What's that?
I've seen bar towns worse than that in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. And here you're picking up something. I mean, I know it's early, but now that you've got, you put boots in the ground, what do you guys see as potential for Cal?
The assays will guide us. Okay, we'll be guided by those first assays, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we saw enough pegmatite down there to be excited. And the access is wonderful. A lot of people explored that property. They kept coming back to it, right? Going back to the 1960s. There's a list of companies, about 10 companies long. I think Noranda might have been the first one.
Big history, big history.
Yeah, there's small companies, big companies kept coming back to it. It is heavily mineralized for sure. Whether there's going to be enough of any one thing to make it worthwhile, I don't know. like I said, the Pathfinder minerals are there for lithium and rare earths, and yeah, that's what our real hopes are for. So
Yeah,
that's
but
what
for
we're
listen, for $1,800 and some good historical data to go off of, if you don't take that, it's kind of like poker. You know, you're not gambling, but if you don't take those odds, where you're spending $800, $1,800 and doing a little bit of work to see what you
yeah.
got, then you might as well not be in the exploration business. That's your job. And I love the fact that you're getting these things so cheap.
If the assays come back good, we can get down there and do some more sampling, do some backpack drilling. You can drill the backpack drill without permits, so we can get down there, and we got some guys that are pretty good with the backpack drill. We got down 60 feet with it in the where the talc was.
Nice.
So, you know, we can do some of that, and yeah, it's early stage. Okay, these other projects are early stage, so I want to emphasize that our focus, our budget is going towards drilling on the nickel
Absolutely.
project. For
Yeah.
99% of our money is going, I won't say 99, 95% of the money is going.
But look, it's prudent that again, you're picking great resources. It's in your, and they're in your neck of the woods. I remember I used to see some companies, they'd have a nickel project in British Columbia and a lithium project in Chile and a zinc project in Zimbabwe. Like but everything you've got is right around, where you guys have set up your core competency for knowledge, where you're situated. It just makes a lot of sense.
I'm staying close to home for a number of reasons. One of them is my track record investing outside of Canada. When I was a stockbroker, I could predict within a month what country was going to have the next military coup. All I had to do was invest my clients' money there. I don't know. I don't know African politics, but I could somehow spot where the next military coup is going to be. Yeah, it's just absolutely terrible. And so I learned just to stay away from investing in certain parts of the world. And it's not that they're bad parts of the world. It's just that my track record there is absolutely awful. So there's enough risk in trying to find, verifiable economic ore bodies in Canada. I don't need to take on all that geopolitical risk. And I don't know if you've noticed what's happening around the world, but I think that geopolitical risk is rising,
Just a little
not
bit,
shrinking.
just a little bit. And you know what? Look, especially in battery metals, going back to Quesnel, we now know that the United States of America is putting a heavy premium on battery metal projects that are in North America in friendly hands. And it doesn't get much friendlier than BC in Canada, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
why why
Low
why
grade.
bother if you can't? Warren Buffett said something great. They said, why don't you invest overseas more? And he says, if I have to go 5,000 miles away to try and make money, it means I'm not doing a very good job here. Right. So I think you're kind of, that's the same philosophy you've got there.
So lower grade, but easy access to infrastructure in a safe jurisdiction. People will want this project at some point. That's my view of it. And
Well,
so we're fattening it up. We're not hanging a for sale sign on it. Our idea is we could keep
no.
advancing this for quite some time to come. But when you look at the vehicle companies now starting to really actively get into looking for mining projects, that's going to be a growing trend. And so there'll
Well,
be
we just
no
had,
shortage of it.
they're a little further ahead of you, but we just had a nickel client of ours last week announced that they made a major deal with a 3D metal powder company who's going to finance them. So direct deal. So you're obviously a little behind in terms of, because you just started later, but that's the idea that the macro scene is developing every day. So Quesnel almost gets more valuable on a daily basis, even if you're not doing any work today, right? So you have all the time in the world to do what you got to do there.
Yeah, and I think we could go through a recession fairly easily, which isn't great for commodity prices, but recessions don't last forever. And when we come out of it, we are going to be so constrained for all of these critical minerals. And it's going to be amazing. So it is a focus of ours right now. But we still have our gold too. So
Yeah, that's it. I mean, look, it's half an hour's gone by, and we talked about nickel, magnesium, lithium, some talc, right? And we can't get everything in, but it's amazing that you're having such great success on these and others that we can't always get to. But Perry, congratulations on going 47 for 47. You're going to be in the in the Agoracom Hall of Fame, because that 47 for 47 is funny that we say it, but man, it is iconic. It is pretty unbelievable, and can't wait to have you
I
back
think
to
that
discuss
number's
that
got to
again.
keep climbing. I can't see any reason based on where we've drilled why we're not going to just keep hitting. So, we'll let you know. I'll call you the minute we hit one. But so far, the search for overburden continues.
Congratulations, Perry. Thanks for giving us a nice little injection here, in the last dog days of August, when everyone's more concerned about barbecues and hanging out a little bit before they get back in the serious work. But when everyone comes back in September, Green River Gold is going to be on a lot of radar screens. That's for sure.
Thanks, George. I appreciate it.
If you've been watching or listened by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Green River Gold and Perry Little, he's the president and CEO of the company. Trades in Canada, CCR, for our friends in the US, CCRRF. To do your due diligence, if you want to start off, get to the company's profile page on Agoracom, because there is so much going on here. There is the Quesnel Nickel Project. There is the Fontaine Gold Project. There is the Cal Lithium Pegmatite Project. On and on. We give you a great overview of all that, so you can get your feet wet, 1,000-foot view of the company, and then head over to the company's website, do your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, the video's over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our YouTube channel so you never miss another great Agoracom small cap video.